know that. Welcome, Thelma from Harare, Zimbabwe. I hope you guys have had a great day. I know I can imagine it's been a busy day of work. I'm personally just trying to distress from all the hecticness of today. So the day is not over yet because we've got this engagement to do, and we're here to learn from each other and exchange. Super excited about all the people here, both from Harare, welcome as well, and all the different specialties and experiences that are in this room. Mathabs from South Africa, it's great to have you as well. And also just the kinds of questions. So hopefully the time that we don't have a ton of time, but we're going to try to make the best of it. And I have one request of you. I love it when I see the chat pop in, the questions come in, or the comments about what you're learning just going into the chat box, because we want to make sure we are interacting with and learning from each other. So I want to invite you to do that as we share together this evening and this night, okay? So just to give you a quick run through of what this is going to be about, I'll give you a short snippet about who we are, what Planbpreneur Innovation Academy is, and then I will start to lay out some of the content of the session. And then I'm going to welcome Andrew as well, my good friend, and also our facilitator tonight as well, excuse me, who would share his own story and journey. So one of the things we do is that we want to share some of those peculiar stories and journeys, but also share practical tips and lessons that people can take away and go and apply. So I'm super hopeful that tonight you'll be able to gain some practical tips. And Andrew and I will share from our experience that have helped us in the last several years. And I'm just currently also continuing to navigate this world of consulting and creating value in general. And then we will also have the opportunities within this room to ask questions. Thank you, Job Collins, joining us from Kenya. Pritchard, thank you for joining us from Kigali. And then I'm going to tell you, especially for people who want to ask questions about how do I structure some of this, there are deeper questions and there's a lot more. And there's what Planbpreneur Innovation Academy actually does. And I'm going to share with you something special and a great offering tonight that will be important. Okay, so just briefly about Planbpreneur Innovation Academy. What we are doing at Planbpreneur Innovation Academy is equipping professionals, entrepreneurial professionals to thrive in the future of work and to create new income and impact. So people, most of you on this call probably know that the future of work is not in cubicles, right? It is distributed, it is remote, it is contingent on value creation, it is contingent on ability to create value that is relevant globally and to be able to serve perhaps a wide range of clients. And consulting sits greatly in that space. So, and we will focus on that tonight. Let me just make sure, please make sure that you are on mute, except when you want to ask questions, so that there is little as possible, okay, disruption. Thank you very much. Okay, so just to show you, Planbpreneur Academy, Innovation Academy is followed by quite a number of amazing individuals from who have been trusted and who have expertise coming from a wide range of innovative backgrounds across some of the biggest brands around. And these are some of our coaches. Last week we were here with Lola Ekugo, who is the Chief Digital Officer of FBN Quest Nigeria. And we were talking about professional reinvention. And it was quite an engaging conversation last week, a lot of practical things shared and great feedback we had as well. And today we'll be having Andrew, who is also a coach with the Planbpreneur Innovation Academy. And we would have a number of the other people that you see here in the coming weeks or in the sessions as well. Andrew is a coach with Sisters. You have a little bit more about Andrew later. We have Dr. Funsha Shamari, who is with the AFDB, but also runs an investment firm. And there's Candace, who is taught at Stanford, lead, and works in Switzerland and equips governments and professionals in the digital economy. Of course, there is Stella as well, who is an entrepreneur, investment analyst, and there's myself, who is an educator, entrepreneur, learning innovation specialist. And so we are the team, the coaching team. There's a bigger team at Planbpreneur Innovation Academy, Bobolaji, Colleen, Abubakar, a number of our teammates who are not, who might be or not be on this call. So just helping you to understand our mission, our passion, and why we are hosting all these workshops and doing all this programming that we have put together. And hopefully we get to continue to engage beyond this evening. So this evening, it's going to be Andrew and myself mostly in this conversation. And so just to give you a brief, I think most people are here are either existing consultants or new consultants, or people who want to go into the consulting field. I know a number of people have into freelance consulting field, especially. Of course, as you might know, there's different kinds of consulting, and hopefully we'll get to talk about that. But we want to simplify it to say what is accessible to everyone. Of course, you know, Dalberg does consulting, McKinsey does consulting, BCG does consulting, but I do consulting, Andrew does consulting. And so, and we're creating value at that. So what we're talking about accessible practices that you can do where with your expertise. And consulting, I believe, is one of the smart ways, and it's going to be in this distributed economy and this globalized world with all the different forces of change that we are being bombarded with, is going to be one of the smartest ways to serve people, because people will no longer be relying on just desk employees to work with them or to deliver results for them. A lot more people will engage consultants, especially freelance consultants. So it's important to begin to shape the mindset and the skills, and that is already happening. And it's not just something that is going to happen. So for people as well who want to do work from outside of their country and across different, or you just want to learn new strategies, or you even want to set up the consulting business, right? You want to monetize your expertise and expertise, and experience, which are things that we do at the Planbpreneur Innovation Academy. This is one of the things. This space is for you. So just a bit about me before I jump into that. My career has spanned a couple of several years now, but I've been privileged to work with a wide range of clients globally and to serve and to consult with, and also speak and write and be featured across a number of platforms and brands that I've created, like the Planbpreneur brand, the Wengi Design brand, and of course, learning innovation brand, which is called Learnable. And I am also an international business and trade and entrepreneurship faculty at the African Leadership University, right? Been featured on New Times, Digital Africa, African News Agency, Africa Mutandi, African Colors, Noggin Notes and Number, and I've consulted for clients across the world, from University of Nebraska, Glasgow Caledonia University, done some work with the UNCTAD, ITM Africa, Alibaba Business School in Hangzhou, China, and the list goes on. And I'm also a coach with the Innovation Creation Studio and a number of other platforms. So I want to hopefully be able to pass on and to share and to engage and learn some of that from you. And I'll be introducing Andrew briefly, but before I start, just to make sure that we are on the same page, consulting is really helping companies, organizations improve performance, efficiency, addressing operational and strategic challenges they're facing, or helping them accomplish specific objectives. You know, like I said earlier on, there is now, the word consulting is used widely across a number of spaces. So for example, I do marketing and brand consulting, learning innovation consulting, and entrepreneurship consulting, which is what you see reflected in the work that I do. And people could have different other types of consulting specific to the field or to the section: financial consulting, educational consulting, career consulting, there's a ton of things. But what we are trying to do with consulting is really to help the client to accomplish specific objectives, to help them improve their performance. So when you see yourself as a consultant, it's the value that you're bringing to say the client needs you to accelerate something, to solve something, to improve or increase something or a condition within their organization, or to deliver on a specific project or objective for them. And broadly, there can be a number of consulting approaches, as you might see, as you think about being a freelance consultant. There are cases where you are basically offering expert guidance to your clients, where you essentially are doing some of the research and the fact finding and providing, and there is no implementation, because as you will see, consulting can be blended. There are consulting engagements where you are implementing for the client as well as providing the guidance and the expertise. But broadly, there is advice given where you're providing that expertise on that specific thing and the client is accomplishing, and then you're providing guidance. But there's also cases where you are accomplishing alongside with the client. So embedding into the client's team and working with them to accomplish some of the goals or to improve the performance they're trying to see in their business. And importantly, there's also cases where consulting is both research and findings and execution that you're doing for the client. So just to ensure that we all have some background and context on what are we really delivering and what were we talking about when we're talking about consulting, so that when Andrew shares a story and I also speak a bit more about some of this, we have the same baseline. So we want to be sure, and if you're doing consulting, you have to love clients, right? Like you have to know that you're there because of them, not just to collect the check. At the end of the day, they need you because they need a result, right? So your next consulting gig many times is as good as the last one and the result you helped the client to deliver. Otherwise, they won't be calling you back or referring to somebody else. So hopefully some of this is going to strengthen your approaches. So I have Andrew with me tonight. I'm super excited to have Andrew, whom I've had the pleasure to know for more than 3 years, I guess, and also to collaborate on a number of projects. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but he's also an individual with many parts operating globally as well. So Andrew, I'll let you do justice to it so that I don't mother the story.
Perfect.
Welcome,
Thanks,
Andrew.
Tammy. Thank you, Tammy,
Yeah.
and good to see everyone online today. Yeah, so a little bit about myself. So my career spans a little over 10 years, working across 3 different continents, living and working in 5 different countries, but usually responsible for regional or national activities. I've been a long-time consultant, either acting sort of as a freelance basis or part of organizations themselves. My career is quite diversified. I've worked across several different sectors, from manufacturing to agriculture, to fintech as well. In terms of my organizations I've been a part of, so I co-founded Step Change Africa about 2 years ago, and I'll provide a little bit more information about that a little bit later. I'm a senior advisor with Seed Stars, and I run a program in Rwanda, and I do investments in East Africa on behalf of a Belgian-based organization called Ondernemers voor Ondernemers, which in English means entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. So my career, it's never been a straight line. There's so many different paths that I've taken. So it's one of the things, really being flexible, having a lot of challenges coming my way and just being adaptable through that. And I think that's what's really helped me along in my career, is I've been able to sort of grow over the last 10 years itself. Just quickly, a little bit more detail. So my career started off in marketing communications in London, New York City, working for major financial services firms. And then about 3 years into it, I decided I hated it and I just dropped everything. And I got a job working out in East Africa. So I was based in Nairobi, Kenya, and Kampala, Uganda for quite some time, running the communications for a mobile tech startup. Then I got a job with a investment firm that actually put about $2 million investment to a company in Rwanda. And that's where I ended up in Rwanda. And that's how I met Demi and came into contact and started working closely with African Leadership University and several organizations within Rwanda itself. From that perspective, I helped run a bakery pastry chain that was operational across 3 countries. We had 150 employees. After about 2 years, I then decided to actually take the leadership role myself, and I ran one of East Africa's largest craft distilleries, using locally made ingredients to make premium made in Rwanda liquors. And then all of a sudden, life threw me a curveball, and I moved to Belgium for the time being. We'll be here for a few years because of family reasons. I'm originally from America. I'm not from Belgium. My partner is. And that's where my life as a freelance consultant really sort of took off. It's something that was able to really match my lifestyle and allow me to work what I really wanted to do and give me the hours I wanted to work. So what I've done over the last 2 years, I'm a startup advisor, either as a solo person or through different organizations. And what I do is I provide business growth advisory to pre-seed to Series A startups. And if you're curious, I can go into more detail what that actually means in terms of business classification. But what I do is I focus on everything from market development to partnerships to fundraising, basically really being that sort of value add service to these startups. And what I do is I make sure I have sort of a flexible model in terms of compensation, because I know how difficult it is for these companies to have consistent lines of revenue. So I make sure I have really a dynamic model to make sure I can also get paid for the services I actually offer. In addition to being a freelance consultant, I have Step Change Africa, which I co-founded. I work with 5 other individuals across Europe and Africa, and we come together on certain projects. We've been fortunate enough to get large contracts from various European governments and some other popular entrepreneurial support organizations doing work across Africa. But it's still one of the things, it's still very much an early stage business, and it still has its own teething problems. I'm also a freelance consultant doing everything from companies that have raised multi-million dollars that appear in the likes of TechCrunch and Tech Cabal. If you're into the startup ecosystem, I've worked with a lot of the name brand organizations, and that's coming as an individual because sometimes they don't want a team. They just want a particular sort of expertise and access to networks, which I have, and they don't want to bring anyone else in, which is fair enough. Then in addition to that, I'm a senior advisor with SeedStars. SeedStars, that's a contract actually came out of volunteer work. So SeedStars is an international network that works with entrepreneurs in emerging markets around the world. I focus on Africa. And I originally started doing volunteer sort of mentoring, and that's really turned into paid contracts. So that's something that's been quite valuable for me in developing the opportunity with SeedStars. As you can see, I'm involved in several different activities. It's because, of course, the revenue is not consistent. So basically, I have diversified revenue streams that really come together. That gives me sort of the cash I need to live and enjoy myself from it. So yeah, that's my journey to date. Going more detail over the last 2 years as a freelance consultant through my own consultancy, it's been tough. Year 1 was very difficult for that, particularly because it was COVID. We launched in 2020. It's one of the things we were decentralized. So we're all different parts of the world, mainly Europe and different parts of East Africa. It's a part where it took about 6 months until we've got our first sort of money into the business. But the nice thing about being a services-based company, of course, you don't have very many overheads. But it's one of the things where 6 months until you get your first sort of money into the business, it's challenging, particularly keeping up that morale during that time. Also, I lost 2 partners and brought on 2 partners during that first year as well. So it's one of the things we did have a lot of turnover within the organization. And that's due to family reasons, but it's also due to it doesn't fit their lifestyle. And being a consultant doesn't fit everyone's lifestyle. I can tell you going to year 2, things have become a lot better. We've been able to get better clients. We've been able to get clients that match our sort of customer personas that we've been able to identify. I can also tell you we've been able to increase our sort of I would say our charges and fees based on that we've been getting better quality clients. Year one was just about just getting cash flow into the business and getting positive client testimonials. And year two, what we really focused on, we want better clients and making sure we're getting compensated appropriately for it. So that's what's the nice thing about year two has been. We've also been focusing on sort of diversifying, making sure we're getting those larger contracts of $10,000 or more, but also making sure we're getting sort of short contracts. So it's a couple $100, a couple $1,000. It helps us pay for our overheads. That helps us bring on some communications. We have got a communications person that works full-time for us. So we can pay her full-time for that. So that's a little bit about the journey so far. And then you also may have seen, I do have an organization I'm part of, like Older Neighbors for Older Neighbors. Said before, that's a volunteer-based position. And the reason why I took that, I use that to bring in clients for my for-profit business. So it's one of the things I'm able to get in contact and have conversations with very high levels of government, very key important players that I wouldn't normally have access if I was not part of Entrepreneurs for Entrepreneurs. So as you can see, there's a lot of consistency. Seed Stars, then Entrepreneurs is actually taking the tack of doing sort of showcasing your work, doing some free and volunteer work in order to help that drive revenue and turn into paid opportunities for it. I can't tell you it always works, but it's helped me get some clients in the door, whether through individually or through my organization, Step Change Africa. In terms of few sort of tips and tricks I've picked up over the last 2 years, and
Just
then
a minute,
also,
Andrew.
yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm going to let you like go into some of that, but I wanted to sort of tease out a few things from your story because you've shared quite a number of things as well, and I'm sure people are following. And I just wanted to ask as well, as you're following some of what Andrew is sharing, before we start talking about some practical tips and strategies and all that, please put any questions that you want us to respond to in the chat box. Want to see the questions in the chat box, but also if there's something that stands out to you as a lesson that as we're talking about this, please put it in the chat box. So Andrew, just two things I heard from you. One of them was just the reality of the challenges of consulting, because not everybody wants to be a consultant, because I think being a consultant as well, especially if you're working with multiple clients, much like an entrepreneur, probably have many I wouldn't use the word bosses actually, but you have a lot of people, and it's a change in lifestyle, especially if you are more used to a full-time employment and making one set of deliverables. So essentially, there's a level of skills, right, and competence that you need to have to be able to deliver to multiple people at the same time, sort of like an agency as well, I guess. But one thing you also said, which I wanted to reinforce, is this lead generation strategy, because a number of the questions that came in is, how do I get high-paying clients, or how do I get more clients? And one of the things you said was you're volunteering with OVO, which is strategic, right? Because it puts you in the place where you can meet with the kinds of client that you want to eventually work with, right? And so this I think is one great strategy to actually put you in the place where you can get those kinds of clients. But I thank you for allowing me to just share some of those and tease that out for our audience. So let's go back to you and talk a bit more about what are some of the practical strategies and tips for somebody in this day and age who is either trying to start or who is trying to grow their consulting, right? What are some of the things you've learned and things that people can put in practice? Yeah.
Yep, perfect. Thanks, Debbie, for that. And thanks for the summation. That was a great sort of overview. In terms of sort of what I've learned over the last 2 years, in particular, sort of in no particular order, is the first thing is make sure you, before you actually become a consultant, before you're actually thinking about launching your services is make sure you do an introspective and understand sort of what are your areas of expertise, what experiences make you unique. Make sure you also do your research on sort of the competition out there. There are other consultants, there are other agencies that have similar skill sets, backgrounds. How do they actually position themselves? also try to figure out how much they actually charge as well. Because I know there's some clients, particularly for us, they charge like $100 a client, which is not worth for our business model whatsoever, not worth my time. With my 10 plus years of experience. And hopefully that doesn't sound arrogant. It's one of the things where you've worked hard over the period of time to develop your contract, yourself. Don't sell yourself for such a low price at the end of the day. So that's a piece of advice there. So with that first step, just understand where you stand in the market and just understand yourself. That's going to be a big thing as you prepare yourself to really take that first step and put yourself out there. Once you do start putting yourself out there, make sure you do have a website. It's something that I think this goes back to my colleagues that I've worked with for 10 plus years in several different countries. If you don't exist online, you don't exist, period. For it. It's something that a website, you need to have a go-to where it tells you your story, what you particularly offer. And then in some cases, I like to say how much I actually charge. So you're just transparent, you're clear. You don't have to get really too much in negotiation. It's all out there. So that's another piece that I recommend. If you don't have much of a sort of a web background or website design background, because not a lot of people don't, there's a lot of resources out there such as plug and play that you can use on Wix. You can use GoDaddy.com. I can tell you, I personally use Wix. I find that fairly reasonable and has a lot of useful sort of applications and nice templates to use. But I can tell you, as my sort of consultancy becomes a lot more complex, it's not a long-term play. And I'll let Demi go into this more because he would know a lot more than me, part of it. But WordPress is more a longer-term play. You want a website more complex. But in the immediate term, I found Wix the most valuable for my own personal website and for Step Change Africa's website as well. A few other things that I've really picked up along the way is get on LinkedIn. And it's just not getting on LinkedIn and having a profile and sort of liking all of your friends' content. It's getting on LinkedIn. It's posting regularly content. It's commenting on content. And it's being sort of very tactile on who are you adding to be into your network or who are you following and connecting with. LinkedIn, be honest, I wasn't a big fan of it until probably about 6 months ago. But I can tell you, since I've doubled down on just sharing content, commenting on content, the quality of partnerships that I've been able to develop over the last 6 months has been astronomical. I can tell you I've engaged with more investors who actually help with my work in terms of fundraising at Step Change Africa. I've been able to sign clients and I've been able to actually bid for more tenders. So being very particular and having a very, I would say, direct approach and knowing what you want from LinkedIn, it's a valuable resource. And the great thing, it's free. But at the end of the day, if you don't use it, then don't expect maximum value from it. And to be honest, it's taken me a long time. I think I've been a member of LinkedIn since probably 2015. It's taken me about 6 years till I finally sort of jumped on the LinkedIn train, so to speak. But it's been very valuable over the last 6 months. And it's something that I've seen help my bottom line from a business perspective. A few other sort of tips and tricks that I can say is just be headstrong. I think Demi sort of alluded to this as well when he's doing the summation for it. There's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows as a consultant. There's a lot of terrible hours, but there's also a lot of satisfaction as well when you do a really good piece of work with it. So it's one of the things is make sure you're mentally tough. And also something that I recommend is that when you're a freelance consultant, it's something that you have to also be selfish. How do you get your bills paid? If you just start off in a freelance consulting, the likelihood of you signing a larger contract, and when I say large contract, above $10,000 or more with it, is probably quite slim. And you're probably having long closing times. So from that first engagement until that contract's signed, it's probably going to take months in most cases. So it's one of the things you have to think about yourself. How do you pay your bills? I know a lot of all of us probably have families, or if you're singles, basically, how do you pay your rent? How are you contributing to other bills of life with it? So also think about from the consultancy perspective is how do I have a business model that gives me consistent income? How do I actually take care of myself in the months where I may not have consistent income from it? And it's something that's why I'm part of so many different organizations. So I know I don't always have a Seed Stars contract, but I know I'll get income coming from Step Change Africa. So always have multiple revenue streams. I'm quite fortunate. There's a huge amount of overlap between the 3 different organizations I'm a part of. So it's not difficult for me to jump from one to another. But I know for a lot of people, it might be sort of helping out at a family business and doing this on the side. It could be something completely different. So it's one of the things, just make sure if this is a side hustle, this turns into a full-time gig, that you sort of are mentally strong with it, but also you do have the income coming in to keep you going. Because if you can't pay your basic bills, you can't take off your freelance consultancy for it. So those are just a few tips and tricks. I'm going to stop on rambling. I'm going to hand it back to Demi, because I know you've got some great things you can pull out. So Demi, what are your thoughts on what I just shared? Oh, Demi,
No, I
you're
think
on mute.
yeah, I just got back. Thanks a lot. No, I think that's brilliant. A lot of really valuable things. And if I were to boil it down, one of the things you said, especially, again, I sense that there's a mixed audience here. There's probably people on their consulting journey already, and there's people who are starting, and we want to make sure that we provide as much value to all of them. Please put in the chat as well if you are just started, right? If you just want to about to go in, or you're already a consultant, we just want to have an idea of who we're talking to, so that we can make sure that everything we're saying is definitely useful for you. But Andrew, if I were to go back to some of the things that you pointed out and were to say, one, you talked about, number one, if you're starting out, you want to choose an area, right? Where this is where you want to serve people, and you want to clarify what your USP is, which is your unique selling point. So what you bring, what's different about how, because there's a lot of people in the market who are serving maybe the industry that you're trying to serve, or the group of clients, but what is going to be different, or what is going to be the addition, and what is going to be the value add, right? Can be very sort of tangible things, or intangible things, like just your design and your visuals add more to it, or your listening and the fact that you provide maybe tools and other resources. You want to make sure that you have a clear, unique selling point and a proposition to the audience. And then you mentioned something about knowing your clients very well, knowing your market very well. So who are the people that you want to serve? You cannot serve everyone as a consultant. And the more you dig into a market, the better that you are able to serve that market, because you know their needs. For example, I was telling one of my teammates in the office, we're doing a learning a program for a client, and there was so much to do. But one of the things that realized is that with each client, with some of the new questions that we have over the years, we have continued, or over the several months and years, we have continued to build our sort of portfolio and offerings and resilience. And I want to share something important, especially for consultants, right? I'm going to talk about this later, but I like productization, right? Where it's like you create an offering that you can offer, or you can put in the front of multiple groups of people. Because when you consult for one client, sometimes a lot of other clients are facing the same challenge that you consulted for this particular client. And so that tells you something, right? And as a consultant, as we begin to talk about multiple revenue streams, obviously productization is one of the things that you want to be doing, because there's a number of people in the market, and they'll be able to pay at different levels, like you're saying, but you can prioritize. And we talk more about some of these things in the Planbpreneur Innovation Academy program. But also, you mentioned something about digital presence, right? It's so important. Sometimes people take it for granted, but these days, the truth is, as you are sitting here, chances are you've Googled Andrew and I. Chances are you've gone and checked on LinkedIn, or you've gone and checked on IG or something. That is the world we live in, because there's no other person you're going to ask about it. And so what I find out when I Google you is going to tell me, it's going to build a trust, or it's going to allow me to engage with you. And I've seen, like Andrew's saying, I've seen people engage just from what they saw online and visually and all that. And so it's critical. Andrew talked about two particular things: a website. Having a website and a landing page for yourself, it is not a negotiable. Like I have personally, I have a website for myself, but I also have websites for the brands or the businesses. And I know, Andrew, you have that because I know you have Step Change Africa website, but you have your personal website, right? Because it's now your portfolio, because as a consultant, this is your business, right? Like you represent the business. So, and of course, Andrew has given some tips about building a website or putting your brand together. But the good news is also that's something that in the Planbpreneur Innovation Academy, we provide a free package with one of our programs to help you get either your website, your landing page, your brand, as well as your lead magnets. There are things we call lead magnets that help you to generate clients or to continue to grow your brand. So that's a lot of good stuff that you said right there, Andrew. And I think one of the things I just wanted to add was that point on productization, where you are creating multiple opportunities for people at different levels, right? Or pricing as well, right? Like you said, it's because it's real, right? Like some clients will take a while to close. I know conversations that have happened sooner, some have taken 3 months. And for anybody who's a consultant, this is the deal. So it's important to have, I want to say, different revenue streams. Yeah, and we'll talk into that a bit more. I see some comments or questions in the chat that I just want us to quickly take before we jump into some of the other stuff. Okay, so there's comments around, I think this is Cecilia Karaoke says, thank you for the brilliant points and real facts. For a consultant, you need streams of income to keep you afloat. Yeah, that's what we're saying about different offerings that you can create, but also different clients. So as a consultant, there are a number of ways that you can make more money. Increase your income streams, increase your products or your services, increase your prices, increase your clients. So you can look at all the factors and say, what are the things I can tweak around here? And everything has a path to enable you to diversify and increase your income streams. But it all comes from the fact that you're putting yourself out there intentionally. Somebody made an important point, which I think is also critical. Relationships. There's a point here about, I think we need to promote international collaborations. Absolutely. I don't know how that person is thinking about it. Maybe there's a suggestion around, hey, I would want us to promote international collaborations, but I can tell you at Planbpreneur Innovation Academy, that is one of the goals of what we're doing. There's community, and like the coaches that I showed you, I've worked in collectively more than 20 countries, and they're based in several countries. And so that's a network as well where we can continue to grow that collaboration. And personally, I'm excited to know how we can connect with you, be of service to you, but also continue to support you beyond this evening. So let's keep this going beyond now. Andrew, there's a question that somebody asked. Yes. Let me again take. I see a very, very brilliant point from Job Collins, and I'm going to take it, and then we'll come to the question. Leandra says, how can one start consulting without having experience but having the degree for it? So Andrew, I'm going to come back to you shortly, but that's one question. And we have tons of questions here actually from the registration list, but I want people on the call, but some of those questions might be from people that are not on the call, but I want to make sure that we attend to questions from people on the call. But something that Job Collins says is skills in negotiating quality deals is critical. Yeah, there is the networks you build and maintain can strengthen your deal flows. And of course, you need effective branding. Thank you, Job Collins. That is super spot on. Totally agreed. He says, I'm handling several clients in East Africa at the moment, including nonprofits, for-profits, and senior government executives. Package well. I totally agree with you. Your presentation and your packaging is, at the end of the day, it leaves an impression, especially consultants submit bids for in the Rwandan system, for example. There is the procurement system, and this is, I'm sure, happens in a number of. And so, if you're looking for those kinds of deals as well, right? Like the way that you demonstrate and package and show that you have more value than others is critical. So packaging is a great skill, and relationship building. Personally, I think that like our job, Collins, like you're saying, the networks and the relationships are one of the biggest places where the most valuable deals come from, right? As the what's it called, the branding and the packaging etc are going to support and reinforce that. But many times people give large sums of money to people that they feel they can trust. Many times it's referrals, many times it's relationships, right? Especially a five-figure or six-figure deals for that matter. You are trying to do your due diligence to actually see who knows this person. Can we trust this person? Can we give them this money? So that's something where relationships come to the fore. Thank you for sharing that. Andrew, let's go back to that question real quick. What is, for somebody who has a degree in consulting, but doesn't have experience, that's the way I can translate this. How can the person start out?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because consulting is, you can jump into it, but actually being successful at it, it's terribly difficult. For you just starting out, what I recommend is go out and start building clients. It's one of the things, consultancy is based on a reputation. Reputation starts from day one. So if you're early on in your career, and for example, if you're interested in like the startup ecosystem like myself, is contact various innovation hubs in your local community. Go to pitch competitions, go to networking events, and approach companies that you really like. Offer your services. If your background, I don't know, in the startup innovation, and maybe it's in finance, or maybe it's in marketing communications, offer your services for it. But also, it's one of the things when you offer your services, like, hey, I would love to learn more. I love your business. Can I please do something for you or be part of it? And you never know, they'll probably give you a piece of work from it. And it's something where they may ask it for free, but when it's one of the things, then push back. It's like, okay, I can help out, but no, you need to pay for my transportation. I need some lunch too. Because it's one of the things where you need to make sure you're taken care of too, particularly as you're young in your career. For there needs to be a transaction of some sort that they are valuing your work for. So I would say get out there, get networking, offer your services, and just be fearless at the end of the day. It's one of the things, eventually you'll start be running into the same people enough. And I can tell you what I've seen, at least from the startup ecosystem, people are willing to help out. If you come to me, it happens to be if you're based in Rwanda, to be honest, I'll get you an internship at one of our companies we invest in. For if you've proven reliable, you've got a good head on your shoulders, you're really excited, the list of companies in your local community that will take you on is huge. And I was just reading in the rest of the world, which is a US publication, they talked about Nigeria in particular, about the lack of talent. There's a huge demand for people that just have a good head on their shoulders, can think analytically. And this is not something that you need 20 years of experience or even 3 years of experience, just someone who's willing to listen, learn, and take initiative. And that's something you learn basic at school. That's something you learn in your own community as you grow up. You've got a huge amount of value already. Just go out there and start telling people about it. That's the first step. So that's my advice right there. So hopefully that's helpful.
That's good stuff. Thanks, Andrew. And that's good stuff. And I want to say this as well. If you're trying to get, like Andrew is saying, more than happy to support, make the introductions if there needs to be introduction for something that you need to get started so that you can get started on that journey. And like Andrew is saying, give value. I remember several years ago, I think it's about 10 years ago now, when I started to get into marketing consulting, I prepared a proposal for at my church then. And I said, hey, I could help you do this. I could help you do a number of these things. And that was and it was free, right? Like it was free, but it started to give me some work to do. And then I started, because it's always a no-brainer. The truth is your portfolio is critical. Trust is critical. So having, whether it's paid or unpaid work that you're able to do in your bucket is totally important. Like just last week or 3 weeks ago as well, right? I'm in Kigali now, where I have a big church that is a global kind of church, and you know, my pastor was asking me, how can we leverage your services? I'm like, okay, I can do this for you. I can consult with you on your digital strategy. And right there and then he was beginning to say, okay, I can introduce you to this other set of people. They need this, they need this. And I'm like, chill, let's finish your job first. Because now I have a ton of things on my hands as well. But but the truth is that that's an open door for a number of other clients. So if you start with people that know you, that trust you, and you offer something where the barrier is not too high for them to get, the risk is level because you're trying to get portfolio, you're trying to get more experience. You will definitely learn a lot of things and interact if you're starting in interacting with your first set of clients. And it would also help you know, do I want to continue on this consulting journey or it's not exactly for me. So, but those are sort of practical things that you want to do. And like Andrew is saying as well, you also want to be sharing your knowledge. Because I think one of the things that really puts you out there is, like you're saying, the conversations that you're contributing to. If you have a degree in consulting, you can be writing about it, blogging about it, put out a free ebook, for example, about what you know, and let people get and share it to people that are relevant. Demonstrate your expertise in some way, shape, or form that would allow people to say, okay, let's give this person a try, even though you don't have all the years in the industry, right? And that can be super valuable. Somebody made a comment. Unfortunately, it's saying Demilade Oluwashino, so I don't know who this is. Forgive me if you put your name there. He said the consultant must not be greedy to the extent of doing everything alone. True. Know your limitations and engage others and be honest and transparent. I can tell you this is so true. But because you're going to get projects that will span sometimes skill sets that you don't have, but also locations that you can go in. So last year, and we were consulting for a client in Scotland for it's a 9-month project, but it involved media creation, research, documentary, and all that between Rwanda and Malawi. But we didn't know, I didn't know, I've never been to Malawi. And I remember, Andrew, I was talking to you then and saying, hey, please, would you know in Malawi? And I remember you shared contacts with me, but also I went online, Googled people, and then I took the money apart and said, you know what, these guys know Malawi, they know what's on the ground. I don't mind paying them their money as long as we get a great job for the client. There's no point of me going to, I eventually went to Malawi, right? But there was no point of me going to Malawi and trying to learn about Malawi in 2 weeks or 1 week, so this point that the person is talking about, there's room for a lot of collaboration. I think that's a beautiful thing about consulting as well. Somebody says, yeah, Leandro, that's good to hear. There's a question that came to me directly. How do I scale up my consultancy outfit, especially if it's not widely practiced in my locality? So, Andrew, there's a question here. It says, how do I, Sumba, I think I might have gotten that question directly instead of in the general chat. So let me see if I can put it in the chat so that other people can see it. How do I scale up my consultancy if it is not practiced in my locality? I want to understand that question a bit more. Are you saying that the services that you are offering are not, your clients are not in your locality and you're trying to reach where they are? That's one way I'm interpreting this. Or are you saying that, you don't have other consultants in your locality, but that wouldn't really be it. So if you could give more clarity to that, are you saying you're trying to reach clients outside of your locality, or something? Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess just to answer for what we have with it, scaling the business. If, for example, a lot of the clients are not based where you are, the great thing about COVID is a lot more people are interested in remote work and they're willing to take on sort of remote-based employees. So for example, maybe you're very niche. I don't know, maybe you're focused on marine biology, but for example, you're based in Malawi. It's one of the things where you have a unique skill set, but it's not sort of worthwhile what's necessarily around you. What I highly recommend you do is do your research, just trying to find what are African focused organizations that touch on the marine biology. And I'll just go on this example because there are a number of organizations. So I would say do your Google research, understand where those organizations are based. The next thing would be is there are loads of events, webinars, activities that are exclusive on this particular niche on marine biology. Say it's in off the coastal waters of Eastern Africa with it. There are a number of those big type of events. And the nice thing about COVID, a lot of these activities are now done online. And it's one of the things where you don't have to travel, or it's one of the things the costs have greatly been reduced. Normally, these conferences will cost you thousands of dollars to attend. Now you can pay, I think I was pay is like $10 to apply for a conference online. And that's a great way to just to meet experts that are in that niche, meet businesses that could potentially use your services for that. And then also get on LinkedIn. It's one of the things where if you're really super niche on what you particularly offer, the nice thing with LinkedIn, you can easily sort through people with specific skill sets from unique organizations that really match you. It's one of the things you can do that from the free version. Of course, there is the premium version of LinkedIn too. You probably do get the 90-day promos, which I do on a regular basis. Don't forget, if you do it, to turn it off, because then it becomes really expensive. It's just a tip there. But it's something like the internet is your greatest resource. And I strongly believe now is a better time than ever to work for businesses that are not in your own locality. I think that people are starting to drop their guard and they realize they can get quality talent anywhere. And while people are not necessarily concerned if they're coming from, whether they're coming from Nigeria, they're coming from India, they're coming from the United States with it, good work is good work at the end of the day for it. And that's what people are looking for. So hopefully that helps out on how to find a particular niche. And then in terms of scalability from that, scaling your on the services side is challenging because you're one person. You're only so human. How do you really scale your offering is really going into like consortiums or groups, which I did. I found my colleagues actually online through a platform called Move Me Back, which is a UK-based sort of platform, but focused on Africa, or people are interested in Africa. And that's how we came together. Somebody posted that they wanted to create a management consultancy focusing on early stage African startups. And I always strongly believe if you want to build something, go together rather than going alone. So that's how I came across my partners, and that's how I was able to build that scalability so we can take on more clients. We can offer a variety of services. We can have different type of revenue streams for our different services rather than just me carrying the brunt being a freelance consultant. So that's what I sort of recommend there is, based on my previous experience. Of course, that's just my experiences alone, but hopefully that can be some value to you on your journey.
That's good. No, thanks, Andrew. That's brilliant. The consortiums, the relationships, I think it's going back to that point where you need to think collaboratively for a lot of these problems, right? And I think another critical thing is really you should know, because sometimes as a freelance consultant, you're doing everything, but you don't need to do everything by yourself, right? Like there are things, whether it's creating document or support with research. I think again, it's going to this point where you want to get people who can also do that, because you create opportunities. For tons of years, I've worked with interns for forever, right? I'm always working with interns. We recently just we're commissioning we're doing a research and data collection, for example. We are bringing 8 interns onto that project, right? And then putting in the checks and structure and all that. So you also, as you're thinking of scale, I think it's also important to know that you want to prioritize what really needs my attention, what really needs my skill set, what really needs my time, what are the things that other people can do, and pay them for it, right? It's better to have more gigs and to pay more people than to try to do everything by yourself, and then you're stuck, or you're delaying on a project, or you can't take on potentially other. So that's a more strategic way. I'm going to see if there is 1 or 2 more questions coming into the chat box. If you if there is a burning question, would like to chip into it, right? Like we'd like to share, but also if there's anything anybody like, a couple of people have been sharing in the chat strategies that work for them, and I'm super grateful. Job, Collins, and some other people shared stuff in the chat. So please, if you want to share stuff in the chat, or if you even want to say something, just raise your hand. I'll mute you, and you can share, or you can put in the chat. You can put in one more question or two more questions before I tell you a little bit more about what Planbpreneur is offering, Academy is offering in March. But I wanted to quickly also, while the question is coming in, I have a list of questions here, which I will maybe pick one or two from. Okay, I think we've addressed the question of how do you find an opportunity? How do you earn through consultancy? Okay, we've talked about some of that. There are some practical questions around how do I get templates for a world-class presentation? How do I get content creation and graphic design? There's a lot of that in the Planbpreneur Innovation Academy because we support and work with entrepreneurs and consultants. So we have a package that works, and we'll be more than happy to share with you. Someone says, where do I find freelance opportunities? I think we've spoken a bit about this: conferences, LinkedIn, referrals, working for people. There's also job boards at times where there's like consultancy opportunities. Like I was saying in Rwanda, for example, there's a platform, I've forgotten the name, that actually you can see. There's indangira.net, but there's also a procurement platform. I can't remember. It's not a Muchio, it's something where sometimes I go to check there, and some of my fellow colleagues as well go to check. But a lot of it as well is networking, relationships, putting your expertise out there and your reputation. I want to see if there's a unique, somebody says, how do I position my career coach for international opportunities? So one of the things I want to be, maybe let me go to this question and see. Also encourage people in the chat to put in ideas. So people are talking globalization, international opportunities. How do I position myself for that? I know, Andrew, you worked in the US. I mean, you're from the US. You're in Belgium. You've worked on the continent. You've learned a number of things through your own. So I'd love to hear from you, but I can also share some of my own answers to some of those questions, to that question after we've read from you. Yeah. Because for me also, it was local to global, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say from the globalization part, there's different aspects you have to look at the business. So for example, we charge everything in US dollars. That's an important thing. So if you're charging it in Naira or francs, wherever you are in the world, for it doesn't really work for international clients. So it's one of the things where if you're sort of quoting a Canadian company in Rwandan francs, it's not doing you any service whatsoever, and you're also losing money from that. So from the payment side and the financial side, we only quote in US dollars because we know anyone can get US dollars quite easily for. In terms of also preparing for globalization, is that how do you actually get the money for that as well? Like what do you use in terms of like getting payments? Where do you have your bank accounts? How do you actually send money for, like, if you have other services that you bring on as well? I can tell you using Wise is terrible from a perspective of getting money from Africa. From it, there's also been, I'm not sure if anyone read the news, but a lot of startups use Mercury, which is a bank in the United States, which recently shut down a number of African accounts yesterday with it. So it's one of the things where you just want to make sure you have quote in dollars, make sure you have a bank account that can easily be reached internationally for that. And you can, of course, accept US dollars. And also you can easily remove money, whatever country you're in for it. So that's from just the structure side. I would say on the client side of things is I just adapt my pitch accordingly, whoever I speak to. So if I'm speaking people in the United States, I haven't been in the United States in about 10 years living there. So it's something where, but I bring out my American experience from that time, even though it was from such a long time ago. If I'm speaking to people in Nigeria, I've done business in Nigeria before. That's how I lead onto it. So it's make sure you adapt your pitch appropriately that shows that you know what you're talking about and you do have that contextual experience. So that's where I'm quite fortunate, but sometimes you do get opportunities. For example, something came up for me in Zambia. I've never done anything in Zambia before. I know people in Zambia, but it's one of the things what I did is like, I've done work in South Africa before. I know a lot of the SADC countries, there's similar challenges. And then I also did some extrapolation, just sharing my experiences in working in East Africa as well. And that worked. So it's basically finding really similar experience of you selling that pitch accordingly from it. Other things to throw out there is making sure when you do position yourself, all your marketing materials are done in English. If you do focus on whether it's if you're talking to Chinese companies, you're talking to companies in Brazil, just make sure everything's done in English. That's the language of business. Unless you're focusing on Francophone world, of course, then make sure everything is in French from that. But I would say it's either in English or all in French. I think I see most people are from English-speaking countries, or it's primarily spoken. So it's one thing, everything done in English for that. And let's see, a few other things that come to mind. Just be able to adapt to international hours and expectations. If you're working for an Australian company, you need to know that those meetings may take place at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning for you. You have to adapt to that. Your client services, and this is what Demi touched upon earlier, you have to live to serve the client. And you have to make sure you hit those deadlines. And sometimes those deadlines are 2 o'clock in the morning, but it's 9 a.m. for that particular client. So make sure you adapt your working schedule appropriately and make sure you can also respond to inquiries appropriately as well. I know I have a lot of friends who are based in Rwanda that serve clients out in Silicon Valley. That's a 8-hour, 8, 9, 10-hour time difference. That's terrible. To respond to inquiries that they come through on a daily basis. And that I've done that before too from East Africa. My boss used to be in Silicon Valley. It's a really difficult lifestyle. So it's one of the things, make sure you're there appropriately, that you can respond to those questions. And this is where there's tools, what Demi talked about. There are virtual assistants that you can use. There are chatbots that you can function that can sort of take those inquiries and have a little bit of immediate response and give you a buffer zone of a couple hours where you actually need to tactically respond to something. So language, payments, adaptability, and just using those tools out there just to make sure you can engage immediately to customers and clients, no matter where they are in the world. So that's a few tips there. Demi, what are your thoughts on the matter?
No, I love it. I'm just going to add to say, especially when you're going from local to global, the first thing that is non-negotiable is quality standards.
Yep.
So if you want to go global or work with global clients, in order you have to realize the packaging, the quality of work, the quality of how you show up as a professional, right? Like it might be very simple things. You can't be coming late to meetings and apologizing all the time. The trust is going to go down this way. If the people in your, back in Nigeria, people say Nigerian time, hey, ain't no Nigerian time. Because if the people in your locality are used to, oh, you have to see that, and you try once or twice, you probably will, the client might tell you, we're not interested. It doesn't look like we can work together, our ways match, and that would be a very sorry way to learn. But like I said, the practices, understanding things like culture, because this is the other thing, right? You can be so steeped in your local culture that you can communicate and engage with people from an external culture. And as globalization continues to eat on, it's so critical to be able to learn, how do people behave, what do they expect, what do they speak like, and be able to speak in their language, much like you are saying. So the standards has to be quality across board. You have to understand cultural intelligence. right? You have to understand how other people behave. You have to have business practices that are global, right? Don't and some of these things you might not know them. You might have to go and Google them. You might have to go and check out and say, how did these people engage in some of so there's a learning commitment as well that is engaged in this. Because I want to say this as well. Some of these relationships might mean you are sometimes so the consulting relation, especially with global clients, might mean you're providing something for a global client who is based in another location, right? For the purposes of globalization in this conversation, we're saying maybe outside of Africa, but it could also be like so Zimbabwe to Nigeria, etc. But let's say the important things, right? Is you okay, like I was saying earlier, I'm sorry, it could be you're providing service for somebody outside the continent, but also it could be that you're consulting for them to offer a service on the ground in the on the continent. And so that happens a lot, many times when you're executing a project. Well, regardless of what it is, you want to demonstrate a knowledge of what you're doing on the ground, but also a knowledge of their expectations and their context, right? And what they have to say from you. There's a lot to say about this, and we can continue to talk about it. But the truth is, anyone can serve a like Andrew was saying earlier on. You have to be bullish. You have to be confident as well that hey, what I can serve at this client. And like Andrew also said, which is the truth, a lot of organizations are also open to working with talent from anywhere as long as you can deliver the job and your ways of working and your working practices are sound and they are aligned and helping the company accomplish its business goals. That's something important, right? Yeah, so I'm going to rest it on that. I don't know if anybody has any other burning question or a comment, but if you will allow me, I wanted to share with you as well as we begin to wind this down, Planbpreneur's program and offering, especially in the month of March, which is where, again, you will get to work more with myself, Andrew, and a number of other coaches that are part of the Planbpreneur program, whether you're at the start level or you're at the middle level or trying to solve something in your program. So this is some of the things that might be a question for you. And Andrew, I'm going to come back to you for something finally after I share this real quick. So this is for people who are looking to start new businesses or create a new income streams or want to explore options, other options, stay relevant in this emerging, connected, globalized world and create more income and impact. Or for people who are looking to become more entrepreneurial and monetizing your knowledge and your expertise. I know one of the things we didn't get to talk about, consulting is one of the ways you can monetize your knowledge and expertise, but there's a ton of other areas which some of us, I personally have the opportunity to do, but also some of the other coaches at the Planbpreneur Academy have been opportunity to do. And also, of course, engage with a community of experts to launch your products or ideas. So again, this is a global community of experts. Between us, we'll probably have close to 100 years of experience, tens of millions of dollars made, or I don't know, I need to do the numbers, but also living and working from across 20, working from more than 20 countries, right? And bringing that global expertise for you. So what I want to tell you is that we've carefully curated this community because we want to offer unmatched value to people who are either trying to create new income streams, go into something like consulting, monetize their knowledge or experience, and want to actually create new income and impact. And this is one super program that we've put together. So we have all these free webinars every Thursday. I'm going to tell you the one that's coming next. But you can learn more about us at Planbpreneur academy.planbpreneur.com. But in the Planbpreneur Innovation Academy, what are you going to find there? Expert coaches, action-based learning. So we started to talk about things this evening, but when you come to PIA, it's actions that you need to be taking to be moving forward. We have a flexible schedule because most of the people we work with are professionals who are already maybe in the full day job and want to create a new stream of income and impact. Then also milestones. So this is not, I've been to business school, I've done MBA and all that. And we're not talking about just the conversations and the theories. We're talking about what are the results that you are getting, right? You also come into community and accountability, which is one of the things that we talked about on this call about how do you build an international community? And of course, there's support for you, implementation support as part of the Planbpreneur Innovation Academy. So the Planbpreneur Innovation Academy, we have another cohort, which is coming up in March, starting March 21st, actually. So these are some of the topics that might be of interest to you or might be of interest to somebody that you know, but I'm sure with everything we've talked about today, this is something that should be of interest to you. So finding your profitable idea, people ask us all the time, where do I start? What do I start with? How do I? Finding your first set of customers, that's important to us. So we use a customer discovery framework, which is something that we share with you. How do you create a value offering? Earlier on, I was talking about productization as a way to create income streams. How do you launch value offerings? Right? How do you build your personal digital brand? So Andrew started to talk about some of that, but there's a lot more that we are going to provide coaching and support. How do you monetize your knowledge? What are the lead generation strategies? How do you finance, right? Some people think about projects they want to do or business. What are some of the creative ways, which might be monetary or non-monetary, that you can finance? And how do you build systems and structure? I cannot oversay this. I'm a fan of continuing to find systems and structure, especially if you're doing a lot of things. You've got to have structure, you've got to have systems, you got to have people at some level of engagement. We talked about some of that. Business modeling as well, entrepreneurial thinking for people who might be new to this whole idea of going out on your own, stepping out and doing stuff. How do you entrepreneurial thinking? And of course, sales and marketing strategies. So there's a lot of practical stuff. If you look at the content that we have here, that we are helping people to use to create new sources of income, to create more income and impact, and to diversify the options. So there are two main options for our programs that we have in March. We have the incubation lab, especially for people who are working on something new. And then we have the launch lab as well. So there's a 3-week, and it's all virtual, it's flexible. The incubation lab, over the 3 weeks, we're going to be having 6-day sessions, which is super packed, valuable sessions, sometimes longer than tonight, but filled with actionables that take you from one step to the other, because we've built this in a way that is moving you from one step to the other. Of course, you have the session replays, you'd have worksheets and templates, and then you have the design and tech discount as well. I've seen questions about my brand packaging, how can you, and so I haven't worked with people around this area. We have decided, we've put in place discounts from one of our sister companies, Wengi Design, to help people overcome, is it building a website, getting a landing page. And then we have the launch lab, which is spread over 6 weeks. So you have the 2 weeks accelerated, and then we have support for the rest of the time. And again, the launch lab, the good thing about the launch lab is that you have a 1-month access to an online platform of resources and tools, right? That will help you continue to build out your venture and your business. And of course, the special thing about the Launch Lab is we have a free design and tech package. Right now, it's not a discount, it is free. It is worth a lot. And of course, you have 10, imagine 10 of those kinds of workshops, but better than whatever we shared tonight. That's what is a Launch Lab. So it's not something that you want to sleep on and you want to miss. So I was talking about the free design and tech package. If you, it comprises from Wengi Design, you have a logo design or a logo redesign, there's a landing page or a simple website for you as a brand, and of course a PDF lead magnet. Now that's a lot, and content ideas as well. That's a lot to put you out there. If you're just trying to get started, or you're trying to like some people have asked, how do I scale or how do I improve? And so those are some of the things that you will get from the Wengi Design free package. Now, don't just take my word for it about the amazing stuff that you have heard, but hear from some of our past students. This is Tendai Morawa from Zimbabwe. This is Augustine from Sierra Leone. This is Jay Ako from Rwanda. Usually our students, it's a diverse class. So the other thing is when you're getting into Planbpreneur Innovative Academy sessions, you are building your network, which is super valuable, like we learned and spoke about today. And for some of our, Augustine is saying, I've been able to create another source of income. Augustine, when he came, it was trying to get a job, but then we helped him to figure out what is something that he can offer and to productize that. And when I talked to Augustine today, is like, I have these clients already in a very short time because we focus on customer development and getting out of the building quickly and starting to get new clients. And you can hear Tendai, whom we've been working with in Wengi Design, helping her to continue to set up all our tech stuff and putting out the brand that she has out there. She's doing some fantastic work around diversity, inclusion, consulting, and all that in business, right? And Planbpreneur Academy has been a space that has helped her to get started. We find out that a lot of people who know, I need to create another source of income. I need to do something. I need to put this out there, but they procrastinate it till forever, right? Until life happens. But Planbpreneur Academy is a place like Jackson said here in the second paragraph. If you're thinking of a workshop that gets you to work on the idea you've been sleeping on, the Planbpreneur workshop is that place for you. Each facilitator shares practical experiences on how to get your venture up and running. And Jackson is also building. And so we're in touch with all these people because we continue to build the community and continue to support them. And so this is one of the super important things, right? Of course, like I told you earlier, we roll with the finest, right? We roll with some of the most practical, amazing people who are doing some really solid things and working with a wide variety of clients. So they bring a depth of and a breadth of expertise from organizations like the African Leadership University, Stanford, African Development Bank, FBN Quest, C-Stars, JLs, and a number of other brands that you might know out there. These are the people that will be working with you in Planbpreneur Innovation Academy, right? So I just told you about the two programs we're running in March, which is the incubation lab and which is the launch lab. And I'm sure you probably are looking at, what is this going to cost? What is it going to mean for me to be able to hang out with all these amazing people over 3 weeks or over 6 weeks, but also to start something I've always wanted to start and to get it going with all the support that I want. Now, there's you can put in the chat if you think it, whatever it costs, right? I would love to know from you, what do you think it should cost and what do you think it's worth, right? But I know that one thing I can tell you as you think about what is the cost of all this and what is it worth is when we did our last workshops and we did feedback from our participants, every one of them said the cost of the workshop was less, like the value that they got was more than that, and they recommended an increment in prices, but we want to scale what we're doing. So we didn't go for an increment in prices just yet. But then when we think about its raw value in terms of everything that we're providing, quantifying across these two workshops, the incubation lab is valued at $249. Again, like Andrew said, we talk in dollars, right? Because everybody can understand in dollars. And then the other, Mobolaji says 150. Okay, I'm curious to know what people think. But then we have the launch lab as well, which is valued at $499. But then we understand the markets. We understand that people are trying to get things done. They're trying to make this money, right? Some of us might be here and this doesn't even cost us anything, sitting for a workshop. I say this not to boast, but easily I do workshops like this where I pay this amount of money from time to time, partly because for me, it is part of what helps me to be able to deliver better results. So I don't even flinch when I see something of value that says like $500 or $250 and something like that. So it's an investment that you make in yourself, right? And if we were charging this amount, we will be entirely justified, I can guarantee you, in terms of the value. But that's not what we're charging, right? If you go to our website, you probably see that we understand the African landscape. I was talking to one of our collaborators in Zimbabwe, and he was like, hey, you know what's happening in Zim, so don't charge us, because we're trying to work on a project with them. And he says, don't charge us the way you charge people in the US, etc. And I said, I understand, we're on the continent. But what we've done is to offer these programs and all these amazing benefits that I talked about, these topics that we're going to talk about, these expert coaches, especially in the Launch Lab, because the Launch Lab is a fuller package, even though it might be worth $249 and $499 for the Launch Lab. What we've done is to bring heavily crash the prices, right? So Launch Lab is for $49, which Andrew can tell you from the last workshop, which was 6 days, we easily did that at $49. But we've decided that we wanted to get a lot more value, number one, but also give people the support to really get their products and their ideas and their services out and grow their market. So if you're going with the incubation lab, I have good news for you. This is one of the cheapest offers you find anywhere. It's $49, right? It's $49. But if you're going with Launch Lab, which is a more robust package, right? With the additional weeks of coaching and workshops, access to our online platform, the free design and tech package. So you won't be paying for, now listen to me, for the Launch Lab, you're not paying for your landing page, your logo design, and your brochure, your lead magnet. I know how much you charge for that on a normal day, but we've put it inside the Launch Lab because we want to set you up, because your success story, again, is our success story. It is what allows us to build. So the incubation lab is 3 weeks and it's a $49. And then the Launch Lab is 6 weeks and it's a $199. Now, the good news about the Launch Lab as well is we've also made 2 payment options. So you can pay in installments for the Launch Lab, right? So if you pay, you can pay $100 and at the start of the program, somewhere into the middle of the program, you pay another $100. Now, you guys tell me if this is not value. Please, I need to hear from you in the chat if this is not a ton of value that we're offering, because we want to continue to engage and support. And you know, as we are consultants ourselves, we are continuing to create value and continue to monetize at the same things we are teaching you as well, and the same strategies that we're using as some of these things as well. So you want to jump in on this, right? So if you want to register and pay, like I said, you can go to Plan B Incubate. So bit.ly/Plan B Incubate to pay for Incubation Lab. And if you want to pay for Launch Lab, you can go to bit.ly/Plan B Launch. If I were you, I would screenshot this or I would just write it down right away, right? And if you also want to pay twice, there is Plan B Launch too. Now the program is starting March 21st, which is like a little bit less than 3 weeks away. So you also can jump in early, but also plan. But also, if you have questions that you want to ask us, you want more information, you want to know stuff, this is a WhatsApp number you can get in touch with. There's an email address you can get in touch with. You can always reach out to us on any of those email addresses, on any of this, and we'll be more than happy. But there is an incentive, right? We have a number of programs. If you register for any of these programs within the next 24 hours, we're going to generously give you a bonus, which we've put at $10, but is worth much more. So we have the Profitable Side Hustle Summit, which we recently did. 10 fantastic speakers sharing strategies and how to get into things like affiliate marketing, copywriting, email marketing, content creation, lead generation. And we have those recorded as videos if you couldn't make it. And if you register for any of these 2 workshops before the end of tomorrow, we will put this in your package. We will put all those videos. There's a panel session with people about how do I get clients through WhatsApp, Facebook ads, and TikTok, I think. So it's really, we centered it around digital, right? Opportunities in digital, how you can leverage that, but also how you can get clients doing that. And when you register before the end of tomorrow, you will get this as part of your package. This package doesn't, if you register at another time on our website, for example, this doesn't come as a part of it, right? Just to let you know, this is what they call a fast action package, or because you attended the webinar, a thank you to you package for actually getting yourself on this part to jam along with us. So think about all the amazing value that you are going to get in this program, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, all the topics that we're going to cover. And we're going to send this recording to you as well. If you want to rewatch it or want to share with somebody, we're going to put it on our YouTube page, bro. So we will be super excited to support you in your journey and to help you through these workshops and to continue to so the question is, are you down to join us? Are you going to be in the room as well? We're looking forward to welcoming participants from multiple countries. And so I would say, if you want to go ahead and register, put down the links there. If you have challenges with payments, please do reach out to us via email or via any of those online platforms. Okay, so I need to see in the chat who's joining us in the session. If you're joining us in the session, please put a yes. If you're a maybe, put a maybe, right? If you're a no, please don't even tell me a no. But if you're planning to join us in the sessions, starting March 21st, virtually we'll be hanging out and doing this. Put a yes in the chat. If you like, okay, I really want to join you all. But if you are like, maybe I'm still thinking about it, put a maybe in the chat. I just want to hear, I want to know that you are understanding all the awesome value that we are communicating to you, and that this is super clear, that you are looking forward to engaging with us beyond this fantastic session that we just shared. So I want to see yes or maybe in the chat to see if you're thinking about it, still thinking about it, put it in the chat. Let's engage, right? As you put that in the chat, Andrew, as we wrap this up, I just want to ask and say, what are maybe like final tips that you want to share with people around freelance consulting? Maybe just to wrap up some of the things we've talked about, but to let people keep going, to take that away, takeaways.
Perfect. Thanks, Debbie. A few sort of parting words of wisdom is, first, just know yourself. Know your competition, as we talked about earlier, is basically understand what makes you unique. What's your unique value proposition? Where do you stand existing in the current market? And I can't reiterate that enough. If you don't understand yourself, how can you properly sort of sell your service or product to people elsewhere? I would say the next thing would be, in terms of a word of wisdom, is just go out there, be fearless. That's the biggest thing as a consultant. It's one of the things, attend those online events. If there's things in person, be there. Don't be afraid to go up to somebody that you think you can offer a great service for. Other things, putting it out there, is know your worth when it comes into your compensation. I know that we've talked about it a few times. There's been great comments from the audience today, is make sure whatever you do quote, make sure you do a flexibility with it, but also make sure there's a so-called red line. Is that you're not going to drop below a certain price, because people at the beginning are always going to try to drive you down, but make sure you know your worth and you stick to it. Clients will eventually say, no, it's worth the value for it. And I would say, last but not least, just stay resilient for things like life a consultant. It's not all sort of sunshine and blue skies. Some days are pretty crap. Sometimes it takes a long time to get payment from a client. It's tough to get those sort of 10,000K plus contracts. But if you keep consistently plugging away in terms of doing your marketing, networking, branding yourself appropriately, making the iterations in your approach to businesses and adapting appropriately, you'll get there. And just make that long-term commitments. You're not going to find sort of financial stability right away. But if you say, no, I'm going to give this a good, I always like to say, give something 3 years. You take that long-term approach with it. If you're consistent and you know you have value, you'll get there. I'm quite confident you will. So hopefully that's a nice sort of way to end on the session for tonight from my side.
Absolutely. No, thanks, Andrew. Lots of good stuff. Like you say, there's the realistic challenges as well, right? Like payments. You got to be good at chasing down payments. True story. There's a payment I've been chasing down from somebody in Ghana. It finally, after, and there are people who don't, there's some payments that you don't even get after a long while. Like only after I don't know if this is a 2-year thing or like eventually got the final payment, you know. So that's something where if I was relying on only that client, I will be stuck, right? Like I will be, and that's what you're saying about lead generation. There are even payments that have gone out there. And so lead generation, but also diversification. Some of the things we talk about in Planbpreneur Academy, productizing, having different lead generation strategies and diversifying your things. So if today was valuable for you, please put in the chat. Let us know if you found value. I can see Pacific and Sumbo. Pacific, Sumbo, I know you're on the bridge. You're trying to think about, should I join the Planbpreneur Innovation Academy? Should I join? The answer is yes, you should come. You should come and hang out with us. You will know that you put a great investment in yourself. So would love to have you. I know you're probably on, and maybe not just you both, other people. And you can always reach out to us, message us on WhatsApp, ask us questions about what you care about or the things that you want to solve. And we take a lot of that feedback and we integrate it into the sessions so that we can make sure that your particular issues or questions are solved. So we're here, right? Like if you ask us questions, please let us know, how was the session for you? Did you get value? Was it helpful for you? Did you learn stuff? Please put in the chat. I just want to say, we've got another free session for you next week. So if you enjoy this, we're going to be having another session for you on how that's going to also give you practical, applicable stuff. Now, let me tell you the truth. We are doing Planbpreneur Innovation Academy. I would love you to join, which is a paid thing. But even what we are offering for free, we make sure that we deliver value to you, which is what I'm sure that you got today. Because we want to build relationships with you. We want to work with some of you and engage with you and serve your networks, whether you come to Planbpreneur Innovation Academy or not. So I'm sure Andrew and I will be excited to support and collaborate with you on some of the projects that you're trying to do. If you need support with consulting, even if you're established consultant, right? We would love to. Yes, thank you, Pacific. That's kind of you. I enjoyed the session, very interesting, though you joined a bit late. We will send the recordings across so that you can catch up on anything that you have missed out. Somebody says more than helpful, insightful, and enlightening. That's super glad and grateful to hear that. We're glad that you got value. And if you want to share the link with somebody when we share it, we'll be more than happy to send that to you. So don't forget, if you register before the end of tomorrow for Planbpreneur Innovation Academy, we're going to give you all these videos for free, which is hot, fresh, and lots of insights. We have speakers from South Africa, from Kigali, from Nigeria, as well in this special program. Again, the links to go register, these are the links to go register. It's been a great evening with you all. Andrew, thank you always, and thank you for sharing so deeply and insightfully as well. We're going to call it a night so that everybody can go to, whether it's family or rest that you want to go to. And that'll be all for today. Bye, everyone, and thank you.
For child's play. So I said, them they find me. For the long time I've been silent. I dey run I've been styling, but they think say I'm in hiding, cause they don't know how to find me. I'll be on no Zumba by the way. I'll be on no Zumba by the way. I'll be on no Zumba, I'll be on no Zumba, I'll be on no fight for your pocket. If you only fight for your pocket. For your pocket. October